So for the record, I'm being bullied into this. Bullied into this. Not really. I'm fascinated. I want to know what she's going to say. I really do. I legitimately want to know what she's going to say. This is Patriot Nurse. She's been on the Wingnut Roundup quite a few times because she's nutty. She's nutty. We're gonna try and get through this without too much passion. You know, we will try and only respond in kind to the arguments that she puts forth. Usually the Patriot Nurse is telling you all about her anti-vax beliefs and her hardcore political stuff, but I have a feeling this is going to be a potpourri of all of the above. So without further ado, we're gonna watch what happens after a culture ODs on wokeness, the new counterculture. Let's go.
Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse. Thanks for joining me today. In this video, we're going to discuss how in a world with no boundaries, traditional values are radical. And so one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video today is to really give encouragement to a lot of people right now who are being tested and tried in one way or another. And we shouldn't really be surprised by this, because if you're aware of the biblical calendar on the days which we are currently in, these are the days of awe leading up to Yom Kippur, right? So very heavy spiritual time.
Okay. I need to just, I was really hoping that she was going to expound further. Okay, in a society with no boundaries, being conservative is a counterculture? That's a very strange argument, and I really want her to come back to it, but let's go.
Times for people, particularly of Bible belief. In this world, over the past several decades, we have seen the steady and progressive destruction of the family, the adoption en masse of...
I forgot that families are illegal now. Totally illegal. I forgot that there's laws, actually, that tells you cannot start a family, or that your family cannot be a traditional family. I mean, I know that happened to me, which is why I married with a child, you know, in a traditional marriage, which is highly illegal, and don't you dare report me to the authorities.
Of communist ideology and of implementation of Marxist methodology in getting there. And so the very slow Fabian socialist totalitarian tiptoe has been going more and more and more at an accelerated pace in recent days. Why?
I wish that there was some way in which she could explain what she means by those words, you know, communist, socialist, dictatorial takeover. I mean, like, if there was a way she could open her mouth and make sounds come out and use her tongue and her lips to maybe articulate an explanation by how these things are occurring, but I don't know.
Why is this? When a culture has no boundaries on accepted and permissive behavior, and when a culture...
Wait. I thought you just said that, like, traditional marriage has been just destroyed. I was assuming that was through legislation, but if we have no boundaries, then that would mean we have no law, and that there's something very contradictory about this argument. It's strange.
Is so intoxicated and overdosed on postmodernism. There are no objective right or wrongs. There's no fence, and we tend to think of...
We do live in a lawless country. There are no laws at all. None.
Fence or a boundary as a negative thing, like it's stopping something or it's keeping something out. But I think what we're seeing right now in a culture that's grasping for straws at some type of hope for endurance into the future, the boundaries are not a negative thing, and standard prescribed acceptable social norms, they protect what is good more than keeping out and limiting people in many, many ways.
I would agree, which is why, as we live in a progressive culture, and there are more people that vote for left and liberal candidates than the extreme far right that have been fielded these days, that society is absolutely making its dictates and its standards of acceptable behavior and morality. I do believe that absolutely is happening. I do believe it also changes depending on region, which city you're in, which state. the population density, the different cultures that live inside that city. It morphs and it changes like a very organic thing. But I think that she's more upset because society doesn't agree with her. That's my guess, but I don't want to put words into her mouth, you know?
So the founding fathers, of course, gave us a republic form of government. We have a constitutional republic, which is very different, obviously, than a democracy. They are not the same thing.
Yes, they are different. But we still founded it on the basis of wanting to have a democracy. It's just a representative democracy. Yeah.
Founding fathers detested democracy because they recognized that it eventually devolved into totalitarianism.
I really want to hear some sources on that. I'm not going to say that that's not necessarily the case or that is the case, but that is a very, very strange one because quite specifically, the Founding Fathers and the Revolutionary War in and of itself was a fight back against the monarchy and the lack of representation. No representation without, no taxation without fair representation. It was absolutely about getting out from under totalitarianism, not through democracy, but through divine mandate or noble lineage. And it was to enhance the ability for the common man, well, if they were, of certain privileges and race, to have an expansion of representation. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how in the world she can make this argument when it's so demonstrably wrong.
Via the mob. And so when you have a representative republic, there are certain non-negotiables, and those non-negotiables, from our founder's standpoint, were heavily influenced by Judeo-Christian thought and from a scriptural standpoint.
Incorrect. Absolutely incorrect. The Founding Fathers, one of the largest groups in the Founding Fathers were deists, that they were, in fact, yes, informed by Christian values in which they might observe Christmas and Easter and things like that, but they overwhelmingly embraced Enlightenment ideals. 100%. Absolutely. They were not, like, hardcore Christians. Like, they were deists. They still had their faith, but they believed in rationalism and science and this weird fantasy that I keep getting told by people like Patriot nerds that this is a Christian country founded by a Christian country for a Christian. It's not true. It's never been true. It's just not. Was that the overarching, pervading, moral, ethical framework by which almost everybody was informed by at the time? Sure. Was that why? Because they were all, God told us the way it should be? No. It's just culture.
Now, the founders, of course, had various different proclivities and persuasions as to how they read Scripture because they had liberty of conscience. This was a function of the Reformation and of literacy en masse and availability of the Scriptures that was a direct function of the Gutenberg press and of the proliferation of the printing press in general.
Okay, those are a lot of words that didn't mean fucking anything. Trying to say that the Founding Fathers had different ideologies and perspectives on Christianity because of the Reformation is very strange. Very, very strange. And it also completely casts out how much things like the Great Awakening and revivalist Catholic entities inside of the United States shortly after the founding of America, and I mean shortly after the founding of America, absolutely helped to shape things quite a bit. And then Gutenberg Bible. Okay. What in the fuck does any of that have to do with anything? What do you... Oh, I shouldn't get heated. We're going to be rational about this.
Were able to arm themselves with information. And because they had information, they had agency. What has happened over the past several decades, though, is that with this abundance of information and an abundance of opinion, there has been precious little responsibility for action that comes with knowledge.
What are you talking about? There is absolutely responsibility. You are the one that don't like the responsibility of actions. What are you fucking talking about?
And so, as we've seen cultures and nations, particularly in the West, devolve into lawlessness and into
Where?
I'm okay, you're okay, anything goes, everything goes.
Where?
We've now gotten to the point where things that were considered offenses and
Like what?
psychological pathology
Like what?
worthy of locking people up for fear of being danger to themselves or others.
Like what?
That's considered something laudable and something that's not only permissible, but that is recommended now even to our children in school.
Okay, chat, I'm going to need you to help me fill in the gaps here. What is she talking about? Because I got to be honest, I have a feeling that she is a coward and she's not going to say what she actually means. Now, I can kind of think of some things, but I don't want to put words into her mouth. I don't want to put words into her mouth. I don't want to, misrepresent her. So I can't speak to what I think she might say. I can respond to what you think she might say. Homosexuality may be. That may be what it is. I would have to show you many historical societies that were totally fine with it, COVID lockdowns, maybe. But I mean, like, it's strange because she was also talking about behaviors, and recommending for children. And I'm struggling with trying to figure out what exactly she really has a problem with. What's the position that she's really trying to take,
I think, though, in the future, what we're going to see is a countercultural reformation of sorts, where the new renaissance that we can face is one of recognizing, we see this actually with the Italian elections and with the election of many so-called right-wing politicians who really, if you evaluate their positions, are nothing more than traditional family values.
Wait. Is she talking about the Italian elections?
Reformation of sorts.
Hang on.
Where
I need to know.
The new renaissance that we can face is one of recognizing, we see this actually with the Italian elections and with the election of many so-called right-wing politicians who really, if you evaluate their positions, are nothing more than traditional family values.
Okay. Hang on. She's talking about Giorgia Meloni. Giorgia Meloni is the head of the Brothers of Italy political party, which is a far-right, proto-fascist group. This is wild. And it's just traditional values. That is really freaky. That is really, really super freaky. Hang on, I want to see if she keeps going on this. This is really, really wild.
And we are seeing, I think people have absolutely enough of this because there's only so much lunacy that can be embraced before there's no integrity. When you look at, even from a biological standpoint, this principle of integrity and of boundaries being things that keep good things protected instead of just keeping bad stuff out, there's a positive to the negative.
Oh, I see. So like it's the traditionalism, conservativeness of like the sanctity of marriage and things like that. I know I'm having to put words into her mouth. I really don't want to do that. But at the same time, like, it's very, very difficult to argue against somebody who won't actually say what they mean. It's really, really strange. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, all right, cool.
Even the cell, for instance, from a basic biological standpoint, if that cell membrane loses its integrity, then the contents of the cell are going to spill out via the osmotic gradient. So even science, just trust the science. Let's trust the science when it comes to the cell membrane, but nothing else when it comes from Dr. Fauci or anybody who is employed actively by DC. We know that
casual COVID denialism, anti-vax rhetoric. Yep. Checking all the boxes. Yep.
boundaries keep the good things protected. And in a world where there have been precious few boundaries, in a world that's OD'd on postmodernism, this next, I think, cycle of history is going to determine what we hold dear as a people and what our values are as a culture, and really where we're going to hold and what we're going to pass on to the next generation. Are our children going to have anything to inherit except for stuff, money, and debt? And
okay, so I really do need to point out, like, if she's praising Meloni, okay, if she's praising Maloney and that what she wants to give to the next generation are values, traditional values like Maloney, it's important to point out Maloney is not only anti-immigrant, damn near xenophobic, religiously intolerant, hatred towards LGBTQ, wants to remove various societal rights from people. I mean, it's really fucking crazy. Really, really, really fucking crazy. Um, it's weird. It's super weird, and it's not great.
My hope is that in this time, that as people are reflecting and that we're transitioning into fall and into a new season, that we're also reflective on what it means to be the caretaker of a legacy, the legacy of the Enlightenment. Are we willing to give it up? Are we willing to completely abandon the things that allowed us to get here? It's interesting.
Hang on. If you're gonna talk about the Enlightenment, I wanna get the whole. Here.
My hope is that in this time, that as people are reflecting and that we're transitioning into fall and into a new season, that we're also reflective on what it means to be the caretaker of a legacy, the legacy of the Enlightenment. Are we willing?
Okay, you're literally going against the very basic fundamentals of the Enlightenment. I hope you understand that. Like, Enlightenment principles do not inform conservative policies. They don't. Enlightenment principles very distinctly differ from overt religious authoritarian viewpoints, things like what Maloney wants. The argument that has been posed in this video, while she dances around saying literally anything that she actually believes, is that we need more rules, more societal rules to enforce a morality that she believes in. And that she also is very much in line with Maloney's, who's a dominionist, which believes that you need religious control over everything, not just the government, but economics, media, every aspect of everyone's lives. And you're saying enlightenment principles, that is not a thing. That is not a thing.
Willing to give it up? Are we willing to completely abandon the things that allowed us to get here? It's interesting because you consider the lunacy of the past 20 years, for sure, the things that we've been told to embrace by the media, the large and legacy media, the things that we've been told.
Like what?
To embrace, the things that we've been told to just go along to get along with. Now, these are the things that are creating so much chaos in the midst that we're becoming unable to perpetuate our culture and our society.
Like what? What are you talking about? What in the world are you even talking about?
Whether it's the birth rate, whether it's the dissolution of the family, whatever it is, I believe that
the birth rate or the dissolution of the family. Okay, fine. Okay. Birth rate. That's weird. That's a very strange one, because I got to be honest with you. When it comes to like the private dealings of people and coupling, whether or not somebody has a child or not is none of your goddamn business. It is none of your business. Now, that might be a backhanded way of talking about gender and sexuality issues, in which case, weird. That's weird, and also none of your damn business. If you're talking about sperm count, I don't know why. So I don't even know what exactly that's supposed to even be about. So it was birth rate and
dissolution of the family.
Dissolution of the family. The only way dissolution of the family is a thing is if you have a problem with the gays. That's it. Because I guarantee you she doesn't have a problem with, like, divorce. I really doubt it. I super doubt it. It's very strange. I really do not understand. Ooh, birth rates. What if maybe that is the dog whistle for white replacement? Because that is a thing. A lot of people don't necessarily understand that whole conspiracy theory. But there is. Yeah, no. I'm so glad I'm doing this live with you guys, because you're catching stuff that maybe otherwise my brain is a little too melted by Patriot Nurse to really catch. Maybe she's talking, and I'm not going to accuse her of it, but maybe she's talking about great replacement theory, which is a theory that because we're bringing in all these immigrants and brown people, that we're not making as many white babies to reproduce, and we're being outbred in our own country. An extremely racist concept. Absolutely hideous. And the only way it makes any sense is if you believe that American should be synonymous with a skin tone. Also pretty weird. But then again, maybe she's not saying that because she's not really telling us what she's talking about now, is she? Very careful.
Whatever it is, I believe that the next countercultural revolution is going to be towards traditionalism. Now, there comes with this a series of caveats that we have to be aware of. One of the things that I've seen on my end of the equation here as a content creator and in this YouTube world, when people get to a level of despair, they want to cry out for a political leader and a political messiah to save them.
Oh.
And that is not a good place to be.
I'm pretty sure you're a hardcore Trumper, though. I seem to remember quite a few of your videos that are like that, but whatever.
Because the people who overcorrect away from socialism and away from Marxism, they have to be careful to define who they are first, and to define their values. Because if you don't have a very strong sense of your values, you'll be captive to any winds of prevailing ideology that come by and feel good for the moment.
Yeah, like maybe a far-right, ultra-nationalist Italian fascist like Maloney. You're like literally describing what you are in right now. That is really crazy.
And so that means that people who feel disempowered are going to crave power, and they're going to crave the strong man, and they're going to crave being part of the groupthink of, the winning team, whatever it is.
You're literally describing MAGA. That is literally what MAGA is. This is insane to me. This is so wild. Like, the dude is still doing rallies right now, right? And he did rallies the whole time for like the past 2 years, even though he wasn't the president anymore. He's literally the strong man archetype. What are you doing?
And I would encourage us all to really do some soul searching in this time and to evaluate where your own boundaries are with permissible and acceptable behavior, and what are your values. That's the thing. Boundaries are a function of values. If I cannot definitively and objectively say this is wrong because, and give a solid reason for it, then I haven't really fleshed it out in my own life. And if you can't flesh this out, and you can't develop the ideas on why you hold the values that you do and on what informs your day-to-day behavior.
It'd be nice if you would actually tell us what your values are. That might help quite a lot as well. Instead of being a coward and not saying anything. This is so weird.
You are not a caretaker of that legacy. I would not be a caretaker of that legacy. We have to wrestle with these things. Work out your faith. Wrestle with it and figure it out, what your values are and why you have them. More than just a reaction against something, we need to be pro something and for something, and be able to give a justification why we hold traditional values. What it
Yeah, that would be really nice. Why don't you tell me about your traditional values? Argue them. Tell me what those traditional values are.
is about these values that have led to the proliferation of the best of humanity, and why it is.
Who is the best of humanity? That's a weird thing to say. I want to know who you think the best is.
Is that when we suppress these values and we call these, woe to them that call evil good and good evil, what is it about the nature of mankind that whenever he takes the deviant and the wicked and the heinous and elevates it?
And the anus? He takes the anus?
Heinous and elevates and the wicked and the heinous and elevates it as something.
Yeah, and the anus. When he takes the anus.
As an ideal. Why is it, and why do you think it is, that cultures seem to fall apart whenever certain things fall into place, deemed as progressive and deemed as modern? Why is that the case?
Oh, it's the old ancient fall of Rome argument. It's so boring. It's so goddamn boring. It's so funny because I've heard this argument from so many dorks on the internet. So many weird dweebs with their clutching their bell curve books and shit, and posting behind avatars of Greek philosopher statues and shit like that. Real boring ass tired busybody crap. Where if a culture gets too progressive, like the Romans fell into decadence, it's only a matter of time until that society falls. Like, there's not totally different things going on in the world right now. Globalization happening, a world market, different socio-economical, political struggles happening at all fucking times. That we don't have drastically different perspectives on every aspect of our lives and the world around us. None of those matter. It's go woke, go extinct. It's so dumb. It is the dumbest, empty-headed argument, I swear.
Human history, it's interesting. Winston Churchill was asked, what should a person study? And he said, study history, study history, study history. In it lie all the secrets of statecraft.
That's dumb. That's extremely stupid.
The people who understand the future are the ones who are students of history. And I'm very blessed because on this channel, so many of you are fellow students of history, and you know that the reason why we have these principles, these traditional values, and why we are inheritors and bearers of these values from the revolution, the values of the Enlightenment, is because these values are time-tested. Ultimately, they're biblical values.
I really hate when people are like, yeah, I'm so proud to be this, to be that. You didn't do any of it. You didn't do any of it. You're a lazy, boring YouTuber, just like me, running your mouth on the internet. You're not... Ugh, God. Ugh.
Choose for yourself, judges. And this comes from the scriptures. It comes from the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. Self-determination, limitation of government, separation of powers. These things are what create a milieu and an environment that give human beings the best possible chance at thriving.
This is so reductive and empty-headed.
Within boundaries. And once we work out what are our boundaries, I think it's going to be much easier for us to give a defense not only of our belief, but of our faith, and also of this far and no farther.
Yeah, it is weird that she's trying to, like, quote, like, Winston Churchill as, like, super, super wise, you know? Like, don't get me wrong, Churchill, he did what he needed to do to get through a real hard situation, but yeah, he was not peak tippy-top military leader, that's for sure.
In order for us to stop the advance of tyranny in any age, we have to define ourselves first in terms of a positive. I am this.
Thou shalt separate legislature from executive, Moses. Yeah, dude, absolutely. That's great. Oh, man. This is so weird and LARPy. This is strange here.
In any age, we have to define ourselves first in terms of a positive. I am this because. Not against. I'm not this. I am this. These are my values. What I'm seeing is incompatible with value X. I'm going to do Y about it. So I think, friends, in this little chat, I wanted to give you guys some encouragement, but also encourage people who are going to be the bearers of the new counterculture.
The new counterculture. I have heard this so many times. Conservatism is the new punk rock. It was cringe then, and it's cringe now. It's so dumb. Ugh. Oh, it's so cringe.
Yes.
Oh, hey, thank you very much for the sub there.
To be able to keep the republic that we have in whatever way, shape, or form or fashion that it is in the future, we have to first define our values in terms of who we are, why we hold them, and what the historical precedent is for these values. Instead of defining ourselves in terms of a not, we have to set our boundaries in terms of who we are. So I hope...
Yeah. Look, I really hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you can't stop progress. The only thing that stops progress is tragedy and war, Eventually, the whole thing is like, as a basic, fundamental, philosophical concept, conservatism will always fail because conservatism serves only to put the brakes on progress. It is a response to progress. Human beings want to progress. They just do. If you want to be conservative and you don't want to move forward in life, you have to start rejecting a lot of things. And you can't just be choosy about some of it, like, oh, I don't know, those gay people make me feel icky. But like, stop using your phone, okay? You know, like, if ever there's something that has allowed us to embrace some of those evil globalist ideas, was having a device in our pocket that allows us to contact almost anybody in the entire world at any point in time and access the some knowledge of humanity. Pretty progressive. I bet you don't have a problem with your phone. Probably not, but it just is what it is. And listen, we already have our marching orders, like your men are going to be force feminized and turned into comfort women for our glorious Antifa super soldiers. I know you're uncomfortable with this and it makes you sad, and we don't care.
I hope that video was helpful for you today. If you did enjoy the video, I hope you'll subscribe to me here on YouTube, Patriot Nurse. You can also support me on Patreon, subscribe to our cryptocurrency and PayPal. I got links below.
How do you
get 2 opportunities to train with me in person?
She's got to sell. Yeah, she sells like classes and things like that. But yeah, man, I mean, can you just grow a spine and actually like tell us what you mean? Like what your values are, what you believe? It would be very nice. It would be very, very nice. Maybe, I don't know, just if she had like an odyssey or a bit shoot that she will like not be totally terrified of saying what she means. I don't know. I haven't found it yet. But this was quite a thing.